It was also really important to have a book about Red Dress Day, that especially for the younger children, that really represents the love and caring in a family and what loss means within the family and how we are navigating that as communities. And this is one moment in time with one family, how they navigate that. And I really wanted representation that showed the love and the care and the tenderness that we have within our families and how we hold each other in these moments.
Hello, thank you for joining us. My name is Natalie Goodlet, and I'm the Associate of Education and Activation at the Gord, Downie, and Chanie Wenjack Fund. Inspired by Chanie's story and Gord's call to build a better Canada, we aim to build cultural understanding and create a path towards reconciliation between Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples. Today, we will hear about the new book, Tess's Red Dress. It is written by Carolyn Roberts and illustrated by Kelsey Mata Foote. Tess's Red Dress is a tender and powerful picture book that gently introduces young children to Red Dress Day. Red Dress Day is a day to remember and honor missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and two-spirited people. With heart, care, and language just right for the younger audience, this story is about love, family, and why every person deserves to be remembered. Let's jump in.
Thank you. So Haksqual Tinoyap, Carolyn Roberts, Quinansna, Tinachchatela Skohomish Okumeach, Naquaqua Okumeach, Jackto Okumeach, and Hach and Squallowin Kunsque Quasnostonomi. Such good feelings in my heart to be here today. I'm Carolyn. I come from the Thafarge family from the Naquaqua territory, which is just up past Whistler in the British Columbia territories. And on my father's side, I come from the Kelly family, from the Chiacto Nation, which is out in the Fraser Valley of British Columbia, which is right downtown Chilliwack is where my family's from. And my mother married into the Squamish Nation, so it also makes me a very proud Squamish Nation member. And that's where I spend most of my time in my family with all of that. And I am a faculty lecturer at UBC in the teacher education program. And I got to write this beautiful book with my wonderful friend Kelsey. And yeah, so I also do some writing as well. Also an author.
Hi, my name is Kelsey. My Tlingit name is Joxne. I'm a member of the Tlingit tribe and the Takwanadi clan. I was born and raised in Southeast Alaska. My hometown is Ketchikan, but I grew up all over and lived in Juneau and Sitka as well, and put up fish in the summers in Klawak. That's Prince of Wales Island. I'm an illustrator, writer, and producer, and the illustrator of Tess's Red Dress.
Thank you both so much for sharing your introductions. I know so many students and educators are going to be super excited to hear about both of you and this story. So let's get started. We'll ask a few questions here. We're going to start with Carolyn, and then we'll chat with Kelsey right after that. So jumping right in, Carolyn, what inspired you to write this story?
Well, I think a lot of things inspired me to write the story. Most of it has to do with representation of Indigenous people. It's really important to have books that represent us as homos, as humans. But it was also really important to have a book about Red Dress Day, that especially for the younger children, that really represents the love and caring in a family and what loss means within the family and how we are navigating that as communities. And this is one moment in time with one family, how they navigate that. And I really wanted representation that showed the love and the care and the tenderness that we have within our families and how we hold each other in these moments.
Absolutely. And I think it's such a good topic to introduce to younger students and younger learners, especially because there's not always a lot of resources on these topics. So it's always good to have a more gentle way to introduce these topics to youth, especially if they're relating to these topics as well. So in the book, Tess learns about her auntie through stories that her mom shares. How important is storytelling in your own family and community? And how did that shape the way that you write?
Well, it's super important. We're an oral culture and tradition, so everything that we learn and everything that we know comes passed down to us from those who've come before us. And I really believe that the stories that we share and tell within our family really creates those family memories and connections to people who may or may not be with us physically, but in order to be able to carry on their stories and carry on them being a part of our family is really important. And I don't know, whenever we're sitting together at the dinner table, we're always telling stories about this and that and the other thing and things that made us laugh. And yeah, I think that we as a family have a lot of really good stories to help us keep us connected as who we are.
Amazing. So Red Dress Day is every year on May 5th. What are some ways that you hope that younger people will take on to remember and honor missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit people?
For me, I think that the importance is people knowing about Red Dress Day, knowing what Red Dress Day is, wanting to become more curious about reading the report and finding out the reasons why Indigenous women are way at a higher risk of going missing or being murdered within our country and also within the States. This system that we've been put into has really impacted us as Indigenous women. I would really hope that we can start more conversations and have a better understanding of how this place became this place and has put us in harm's way. And then with those conversations, hopefully we can start to change that narrative moving forward for Indigenous women and girls and Two-Spirit people in this place.
Absolutely. And lastly, before we move on to Kelsey, would you mind sharing a few pages that mean something to you within the book?
Yeah, so I'm gonna read page 15 of the book, which is one of my favorite pictures in the book, just because it's about people being in the kitchen together and cooking together and sharing stories about who we are. And Kelsey just really captured this moment in time of this moment in time was actually a direct memory of my sister and I being in the big house, and we had to prepare sandwiches for it was over 1,000 people, and my sister did not want to do it. But this kind of encapsulates that moment in time for me. So it says, the ladies in the kitchen always had the best stories to share as we prepared meals. They told the stories from the long ago about what it was like for them when they were young in our community. They were not allowed to have such gatherings as we do today. That is what made these gatherings so important.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Carolyn, for your insights and for reading for us. I think it just really shows how important storytelling can be and how those stories really bring memory forward and really remember those people that we love in our life. And, it can also bring a lot of laughter, which is also very healing. So thank you so much for sharing with us. We'll move on to Kelsey now. So when you first read this story for the first time, how did it make you feel, and how did that kind of guide how you went about your drawings?
So when I first read the manuscript, Carolyn's beautiful writing, I had to really sit with it for a while before I could even think of picking up a drawing tablet or a pencil or making a plan, because this story lives so close to home. It's the grief of missing a relative, the way a family holds that kind of absence and keeps going and stays present, and the way the mother in the story passes the memory down to Tess. I've seen that in my own community, and it felt like my job was not only just imagining this family visually, but honoring them. So it's almost like I feel as if they weren't just artistic choices, but kind of like acts of care as well as going into the illustrations.
Absolutely. And I'll also ask if you could please share your favorite page from the book as well.
Absolutely. It is page 24. I'm just gonna 2-page spread. That's also the splash page in the beginning. Today, my girl, we get to remember all the memories that Auntie left behind, the funny stories, the sad stories, and the love she had for all of us. Today, we remember the light she had shown to the world. But I also miss Auntie so much because I can't make any new memories with her. She won't be able to be here to meet the new baby, tell you stories at bedtime, or braid your hair. I am sad that we miss out on being with her.
Thank you so much.
It's a very hard page to read, but it's a very honest one in that we cherish our loved ones beyond just the happy memories. We cherish their whole humanity and what they had given us during their lifetimes if they're no longer with us.
Yeah, and I think a lot of those times too, sometimes if you have lost someone, you are sometimes put into these situations where, you know, maybe you hear their favorite song or you're eating their favorite meal, and how much, you know, sometimes you wish that they can be there, but by keeping those things going, you're really honoring them and making sure that they're still a part of your life in those little ways as well.
Absolutely.
All right, and then last question here for you. Do you have a favorite drawing that you created in the book? And then I know you are going to be sharing a little bit of the drawing process and some of your thoughts through the drawing process as well.
To talk a little bit about my art process, after I receive a manuscript and have sat with it for a while and kind of think of a plan for the compositions throughout the book, you know, what's going to be a one-page spread or a two-page spread, I begin the sketching stage, or what I like to call napkin sketches. And they're the messy, fun, non-erasing version of the scene. So we see the outlines of the characters on the page. We see blank spaces where the text may go. And it gives the editors and the author an idea of what I thought would beautifully represent the text or the manuscript for each page. And I do work digitally with a drawing tablet, though I do sometimes use my sketchbook for this stage. Here's a little screenshot of what my day-to-day looks like. I like to work in lots of layers in Fire Alpaca or Photoshop. And you can even see the original napkin sketch there in the corner I use for reference as I kind of worked out the color version of the page. And more often than not, I'll just have that napkin sketch layer as like the full size on the screen and can kind of draw over it on another layer to kind of match exactly where everybody is. And you can see that in this next clip, which is a time lapse of that process. Sometimes I like to draw the background first, especially if the perspective is a little tricky. In this scene, we see Tess running towards her mother down a hallway, and, you know, with perspective, things closer to you appear bigger, the things farther away appear smaller. And so I kind of wanted to draw out the perspective first to really nail down that action of her running towards her mother in the beginning. So here is a time lapse of my art process. This specifically is of the bookmark I created for Tess's red dress. You'll see in the beginning, I make those napkin sketches, just a general idea of what I envision for the bookmark and how I'll take space on this, on the canvas here. And then you'll see in the upper left corner, my color palette we agreed on during the process of the color drafts. So the right color for the hat, the red dress, Tess's appearance, and also the ribbons in the background. And then you'll see me block out the color objects. So I work from large to small. So you'll see me map out the bigger objects first with like Tess's hat, her dress, her face. And then I work into details like eyes and nose and lips, and even the highlights on her cedar hat.
So as I mentioned, Red Dress Day is every year on May 5th, and there are many ways to remember and honor missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit people. What is one way that you hope young people will do to remember them?
With this book and May 5th and Red Dress Day, for a child, I hope they feel seen and held, whether they're Indigenous and already carrying some version of this story within themselves, or they're encountering it for the first time. I want them to close the book feeling how powerful love and family are. And for parents and teachers, I know we speak to them a lot, especially in the context of this book and Red Dress Day. I hope it loosens up the conversation a bit. I know adults and teachers can freeze and get a little worried when these conversations come up because they are sensitive subjects. And a lot of the time, we and they don't know where to start, and they're afraid of getting it wrong. And I hope the book shows them that children can really hold hard truths when they're offered with a lot of warmth and framing it in the heart of family.
Thank you so much, Kelsey, for sharing your thoughts and for reading a little bit of the book and also sharing your drawing process with us. It really shows how stories and words can be brought to life in different ways in that visual way, which is especially important for young learners. So now the last question, just for the both of you. I know we've touched on it a little bit, but if you wanted to add anything else, what do you hope a child feels after they've read this book? And what do you hope a parent or a teacher learns from it?
Well, for Indigenous children, I feel like I connect with what Kelsey said about feeling seen within this book and in the work, and feeling like that it's not as a heavy burden that they have to carry themselves in this process of, especially if they have this in their family. What I do hope that parents and educators take away from this book is that this is a gentle entry into a bigger topic, and this is just a starting point for them, but for them to want to learn more and educate themselves more about the topic so that, again, we can start changing the narrative.
Well, thank you so much, Carolyn and Kelsey, for your words and for sharing your art and the love that you've poured into this book. Tess's red dress is an absolute gift, and we know it will open so many conversations within classrooms and homes throughout Canada. And to every student and educator that's watching, we hope this story really stays with you, and we hope it inspires you to listen and to remember and to stand up for those that you love. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for joining us today. If you'd like to continue learning, follow along on our YouTube channel or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also explore more resources that we offer at downiewenjack.ca. Take care, and we'll see you next time.